Labas rytas, Lietuva. Good morning, Lithuania. Wow, that was a heavyweight panel. Don't you think so? That was our superstars of startup ecosystem. I hope you had a good night's sleep and have not slept here and ready for this fantastic show that Startup Lithuania has put together for us. I want to involve you a bit into this. I want to make a small warm-up. So if you could please raise your hands, someone who wants to create a startup. Can you please raise your hand? Yes, quite a few. Who has already a startup? Yes, okay, a bit less. Very good, very good. So now another question is, so what do you need for your idea, for your startup? What do you think, what's the best, most important thing for you? What do you need? Anyone? Team, very good. Anyone else? Money, right. And where do you get that money from? Where do you get that? Investment funds, right. Venture capital funds. Where else? Grandmother, right. Selling your kidney, fundraising, so to speak, right. Well, I'm glad nobody told that you could get your money from the bank, because that's fake news. That's what I was told in school, that if you want to do a startup, you go to a bank and they would give you money. Well, I'm sorry to say on this stage, sponsored by the bank, but well, this is not where you get your funds. Because if you want a loan from a bank, what the bank wants from you is a business that is already functioning, has a business history, it needs a stable cash flow, and needs assets to be pledged, which a startup, if you have an idea and your kidney, well, you can't really go to a bank. So therefore, I'm very happy that in Lithuania, as we were told already, we have a vibrant ecosystem, a lot of, well, compared to the size of Lithuania, of course, but a lot of venture capital funds in Lithuania, but in Baltics as well. We have Baltic VC funds. And that's a great news for all of you who want to start your startups. And what do you need in order to get funds from venture capital? Anyone? Pitch, very good. What else? What else? Well, I'll help you here. Actually, if you want to get the funding from a venture capital fund, in my view, you first of all need to master the language of venture capital. There's a lot of jargon, a lot of fancy words that sound inexplicable, but they are really simple concepts, and that's what I'm tasked to do here quickly in a few minutes to show you. So you would, when you will meet the venture capital funds here during the 2 days event, that you would speak their language. And this is nothing else as what you have. If you have a group of friends, if you want among the group, you understand yourself you develop your own language. If you want to, well, speak in a way that your parents wouldn't understand, you would know how to speak to your friends. So that's what private equity guys and venture capital guys do. They want to distinguish themselves and say, well, we are a separate clique and group, and if you don't know our language, you don't belong to our group. So what we will do is to look into some of the concepts and buzzwords that you usually hear, but maybe do not understand it, and you should understand it. So my question again to you, because I need your input here tonight, which of those words you wouldn't know, or maybe you know all of the words. So, anyone? Come on, brave Lithuania. Drąsi Lietuva. Anti-dilution. Right. Very good word. Anti-dilution is a right given usually to an investor in a startup that his shareholdings would not be diluted, or his percentage in a company if, say, a venture capital fund invests 10% or 20%, or invests and takes 10 or 20% share of the company, that this shareholding would not decrease in the subsequent rounds. So that's the idea. Usually also connected with the down round, there is another word put here. Down round is a round of valuation which is lower than the previous investment round valuation. Does that make sense? And all of you follow that? Well, anyone, if someone does not understand, please do raise a hand. Please be brave and say and ask the question. So thanks for initiative. Anyone else who's brave? Yes, please. What's wrong with the unicorn? Well, nothing's wrong. Actually, unicorn is very good. You want to be a unicorn, believe me. Well, unicorn is actually a phrase coined by a journalist some 20 years ago in a magazine, calling a startup which valuation of which is over $1 billion. And he said those startups with such a valuation, enormous valuation, is so rare as a unicorn, because everybody knows it exists, but nobody's seen it. So that's what unicorn is. It's a good news that we have quite a few unicorns, several hundreds of unicorns now. Think of Uber and I don't know, TransferWise and other companies which are valued at more than $1 billion. So that's the unicorn for you. So you want to be that, definitely. Okay, anyone else? Please. Triple F, yes, thanks. That's a very good question. So remember when someone said here where you get your money? You know, grandmother and aunt and a rich uncle, and so that's a triple F. That's usually when a startup starts his startup. So the only person who believes in him is, well, his relatives. So 3 Fs is a concept called family, friends, and fools. So that's usually the first round where you get your money from. And venture capital usually not being the fool. So they're pretty smart guys. So you would need to look for them somewhere else. But 3F is family, friends, and fools. Anyone else? Yes. Safe, right. That's a very novel, well, very novel. It's a concept that was developed a few years ago by Y Combinator in New York, one of the most well-known, most famous accelerators in the world. And it's deciphered as a simple agreement on future equity. We have adapted it for Lithuania as well. Basically what it does, this safe agreement, elegantly overcomes one important issue that faces every startup when they discuss their startup with a venture capital fund, namely valuation. When there is an issue of money, how much to invest and how much shares to give, that brings everyone at the table to the question of valuation. So if a venture capital fund is ready to give you 100,000 euros and take 10% of your company, usually that means $1 million valuation, pre-money valuation. If the startup entrepreneur wants more money but doesn't want to give more equity for that, well, let's say he needs 200,000 but doesn't want to give 20% of the startup, the question of valuation arises. And SAFE is actually an agreement whereby this valuation is postponed to the next round, namely saying that the investor says, well, look, you need 200,000, that's fine, take my 200,000, and how much percent of the company I will get, we will decide at the next round, when the professional investors will come, venture capital funds will come, and they will value your company, and then we will decide how much I get. It's linked with convertible bonds, not necessarily, but well, it is a similar. Convertible bonds is a debt instrument. I feel like I'm getting into legal jargon already. Anyway, so it's a sort of a security, a loan, simply saying. But the problem is with the convertible bond that at the moment of selling convertible bond or taking money, you have already tell how much shares you will give with the convertible bond, because it's sort of a equity raising in advance. So you will have to agree on a conversion rate or conversion ratio already. So you will know in the agreement now how many bonds you will exchange into how many shares. So basically, it doesn't help with our exercise postponing the valuation as we can do with SAFE, simple agreement for future equity. Please. It is, actually it is, thanks, well done, spotted well. Yes, it's a very important concept, definitely. And we see when we negotiate on behalf of startups or funds with lawyers who don't know the VC jargon, usually that's the clause that usually we stumble upon, because basically what it says to investor or to a startupper, if I invest, let's say, 100,000 euros into your startup, and if you sell it for, I don't know, 1 million, so before we distribute any funds, you return my investment, and then, only then, we distribute it according pro rata our shares. That would be 1x liquidation preference, but it's not rare to see 2x liquidation preference, which would mean that if I invest 100,000 into your startup, you return 200,000 to me, and only the rest, namely 800,000, if we take the same example, will be split between the startup and the venture capital fund pro rata, let's say 10, 20% and 80%. I don't know if you got the concept. And that's it.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, and enjoy your day today.
Yeah, thank you.